is this really me? Like, is this my fault? Why is my life like this? And I started getting really upset because I started to realize, man, it's me.
Yeah. I woke up today and I had a bad mindset, so I changed that. It's like, okay, it's going to be a good day. Then they go get in the car and then they hit traffic and they're like, see, I tried.
I was like, life is just, it was like, that's how I felt most days. It's just, do I have to do this? Become present and mindful and be grateful. Right there. First goals that anybody should set. Read this book. Classic guy,
Hey, what's good, everybody? I'm sitting here today with Niles Boyes. We're going to sit here, talk about some mindsets to try to improve your life and your situation to help better yourself and grow a little bit more. He's had a fantastic journey, very insightful for everything that he's been doing and going. He is knowledgeable beyond his years. He has very, very good wisdom for his age. So just wanted to bring him on the show, interview, and talk some topics, and hopefully y'all get some value from this and help better yourself. So without further ado, thank you, Niles, for joining me today.
Appreciate that, bro. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I'm glad to have you here, man. It's been a lot of fun with the journey of everything we've had.
Absolutely, bro.
The CEO Network has been great bringing people together. Shout out to Fresh for that, man.
Absolutely. Big shout out.
Yeah, so it's been honestly. So like, tell the people a little bit about yourself, where you came from, what you've been doing, what started you to take this path that you're on.
Yeah. So I was born in the UK, and I came over here to America just recently. Came out here for the CEO Network meetup, bro, and just it's been absolutely incredible meeting everybody, just talking about business and stuff like that. But my journey really started when I was quite young. I was like 14 years old, and I used to like go outside and try to get a bit of money by, cleaning up someone's garden or, washing somebody's car for them and get like £10 here, £5 there. Yeah. And I'd be like, this is awesome. I'm making my own money. And it really put a drive into me. But as I got a bit older, I lost that. I had it and then I lost it. And I kind of like clouded my judgment with all these external things that just didn't really matter. And so I was like, damn, like, what am I doing with my life, And in 2020, 2021, I realized again, like, I wanted to do more with my life. Yeah. I wanted to be successful in not just in my like happiness, but also in my fulfillment. Yeah. I wanted to have a purpose, something that I was really like, what is my purpose? And I discovered it, bro. And now following that purpose, now I'm here in Miami, meeting people like Fresh from the Fresh and Fit podcast, people like yourself, and it's just it's been an incredible journey so far.
Yeah, absolutely. And like we've had conversations, often in the chat too, like we talked about happiness a lot, about a lot of people don't even know what happiness is, and they're chasing happiness and they're chasing the wrong form of happiness. Yeah. So you speak on a little bit about that, like the definition of what happiness is? Yeah.
So you see, I see happiness as fulfillment, right? A lot of people see happiness as pleasure, but this is the thing, like happiness isn't pleasure. Pleasure is like a temporary thing, it's enjoyment at the time, and then it's not regret, but it's just, it goes so quickly, and what people do is they end up chasing pleasure, but pleasure can never be fulfilled. So you just end up wanting more and more and more. Yeah. This is why people who go out to club and party more and more and more, and the more they do it, the less it means to them, which means they want to do it more because they're trying to find that feeling again. Yeah. But like I say, that's pleasure. That's not happiness, right? Happiness is when you're fulfilling your like inner purpose, what you're following your heart almost. And the interesting thing about like pleasure versus happiness is that like true happiness, right? Like the one I'm talking about, fulfilling your purpose, you actually aren't always smiling about it. No. Right? But you always wake up in the morning and go, I want to be here today. I want to do this today. I want to get on with this. Even though I don't smile about it, I want to do it because it feels right within here. Yeah. And that I'm with you on that, because like a lot of people misinterpret happiness as pleasure and even sometimes as adrenaline. Yes. Sometimes you're just so chasing that high that you got in that moment and you think you're happy, and it's just an adrenaline rush that you're getting, that you're just an adrenaline junkie in that situation. Yeah. So a lot of people are chasing things that they think they're happy, but then when they sit around in places like you say, you're not truly happy. Like I have my following, I built that off of, smile, laughter, positivity, and all that. And I know a lot of my followers think that, I must be walking around big smile on my face all the time. But if you see me on the streets, like I'm usually straight faced and all this stuff, but doesn't mean I'm happy. I'm peaceful. I'm good where I'm at, and I don't always have to have a smile on my face, because I know that what that true happiness is that fulfillment and that enlightenment of what I'm supposed to be doing with the purpose of my life. Yeah. And I think it's almost like a Stoic philosophy. Yeah. Right? Where like fulfilling purpose is like this thing where you almost like you're saying, straight face and stuff like that. You're not always smiling, but that's because we don't always have to be acting within our emotions and our feelings, right?
Yeah.
Like they're just like temporary things that come and go. You know, I believe a lot in mindfulness and meditation, and so I'll be like always trying to just be present in the moment. And sometimes a feeling will come to me, and instead of like latching onto that feeling and being like, oh, I'm feeling sad now and my whole day is ruined, and I let it come, and I'm like, I don't feel too great right now, but I'm just going to continue to do what I want to do. And then by like not even like an hour later, like 2 hours later, bro, magic, it's gone. It's like the feeling's gone, and I'm just back to being like normal, like fulfilling my purpose.
Yeah, and that's it. Like that mindset is perfect on that, because you know we've heard this a lot. It's that you got to treat your bad days as you would if it was a good day, right? So just because you're feeling bad, that's a temporary emotion. You can change your mindset. You don't have to be a slave to what your mindset tells you. You don't just sit there and like, well, this is how I'm gonna feel today. No, you can go and take the proactive steps to go and change that mentality. You can go out, get outside a little bit more, go meet some people, go find something that's meaningful to you, to do those things to change that mentality. For me, a lot of times if I'm in that rut, I go to the gym. Go to the gym, put on some good music, and that helps me get back in the thing. You just have to take those steps to happiness is not always going to be an all the time thing. No. You're going to have bad moments, you're going to have bad days, but those bad days are bad moments. Like bad moments don't have to lead to bad days, and bad days don't have to lead to bad years. So you can change that mentality. That's it. That you change your situation by your mentality. I tell people a lot of time is to focus on the little wins. Everybody's trying to focus on the big wins. Just little things can change your mentality. It's like tell people like, oh, if you're walking down the sidewalk and then you almost trip and you stumble in front of everybody, you a lot of people is like, damn, that's embarrassing. I shouldn't have done. But just change that little to a win. Like, whoo, I could have fell. I could have busted my face. I could be bleeding right now.
Right,
I'm glad I didn't fall. I'm glad I caught myself. You change that. Just the little tiniest wins will help you in your mentality.
100%, bro. 100%. And you know what? Like when you think about something like what you just said there, right, about people getting embarrassed about things that go wrong. Yeah. Again, like Stoic philosophy, like, was that really in your control? Like, let's be honest. Like, a lot of people think, oh, well, because I'm the one who stumbled and fell, like that was me. Yeah. And it's like, well, hold on a minute, but you didn't like create the pavement and the hole in the pavement that made you trip up. Yes. Right. So like, really, all it is like, you can look at that, just something so small like that, and like you say, flip it on its head. Yeah. Turn it into like, you know, I could have like really like stumbled badly there. That was some really good balance. Next time I'll be a bit more aware of what's in front of me when I'm walking, right? And you just like, you learn from that thing. And obviously that applies to like a business. Yeah. Right? Obviously something like that's an analogy for basically when something goes wrong in a business, is that you look at, okay, well, this thing went wrong, but what have I learned from this? What have I gained from this, though? This thing that went wrong, or this thing that didn't work out the way I thought it would. Well, actually, now I'm in a position where I can learn more, I can do more, and I can change my perception of something. Yeah. You know, and it happens all the time, bro, on the daily, for me, for everybody. Like, all these guys that do business, all these people at home think that they see them on the internet and they're thinking to themselves, oh man, these guys must be like perfect all the time. Like they must have it all figured out. But actually when you speak to them in person, you realize, dude, they're always making little mistakes here and there. Yes. But they're just learning, they're moving on from them quite quickly. That's how you have to do it. Yeah. I tell people all the time, it's like they think that like, oh, winning, that's how you learn. It's like, no, you learn so much more from your failures than you do from winning. And that's what makes winning so much better, because you've had to go through all these learning experiences, and then you finally get to that point where, okay, this is what winning's like. It feels accomplishment. Okay, I had to go through this. I had to stumble and figure out all this stuff. So many people are afraid to take that first step. So you're like, well, I'm going to lose. Nobody succeeds the first time. And you're going to learn. Like, it's going to take losses. It's going to take failures. It's going to take mistakes for you to learn. And everybody does that. It's not something that's going to be embarrassing that you do. Trust me. We've sit around a lot of people, business and successful, and they told us some of the horror stories that they've gone through on failures, loss of money, bad business investments. Yeah. So everybody does that, but you just make sure that you learn from it and you don't repeat it. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, bro. Absolutely. So, you know, like we talk about this enlightenment, change in mind. So what was that point for you that just clicked in your mind for you? That was a pivotal moment that like, okay, things got to change. My mentality has to change. I have to just re-scope and lay out how I'm attacking life. So what was that moment for you? So that moment for me was, like I say, 2020. I was working as an engineer, and I was just like, you know, I was like, life is just, you know, it was like, that's how I felt most days. It's just, do I have to do this? You know, and I was just always like, so like, I just didn't want to like get up. You know, I really didn't. And some people call it depression. Some people call it this, that, the other. I don't know, bro. I don't put a label on it, right? That's just how I was feeling.
Yeah.
And ultimately, what I had to start realizing was I need to change, right? And so the reason I realized that was because I was alone. So I didn't have like parents around or anything like that. I was living by myself. And every day that I felt like that, nobody was there to like try and distract me. There was nothing really that I could like, I would just come home from work and like eat my food and sleep. And like, that was it, right? And a lot of my time was spent inside of my head. And I just had to start thinking. And because of that thinking, it hurt.
Yeah.
It was really painful to do, but that's how I learned, right? And I had to sit there and think to myself, I was like, is this really me? Like, is this my fault? Why is my life like this? And I started getting really upset because I started to realize, man, it's me.
Yeah.
Like, I need to do something. Like, I need to actually start progressing towards something. Like, what did I want as a young child? And this is where a book came in, right, called Mindfulness for Life by Stephen McKenzie and Craig Hassard, right?
Good book.
And great book. And this book is literally just about meditation and the benefits. It barely touches on how to meditate, but instead just tells you all about the benefits of it, right? That's it. That's all it talks about. And I read this book, and I started to just all of a sudden like go, if I'm present, this is going to improve. And it's saying if I'm present, this is going to improve. And all these like different points where apparently my life would get so much better if I was just in the present moment.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'll give it a try. And because of that, becoming present, what happened is I started to slowly go through my past life, right? Because when you're in the present moment, the thoughts that come to you, you're way more aware of them. And so all of a sudden, when like a thought comes through about some past childhood trauma, as people call it or whatever, it's like, all of a sudden you're like, whoa, I didn't even know that was like something that was affecting me. And then you basically, you can sit with it for a minute, be like, okay, that is a thing that happened, but it's in the past. It's not the present. It's not the present me. I can wake up tomorrow and not have to worry about that thing anymore, right? I can get rid of it. I can take it from my mind and just let it go.
Yeah.
Right. And I did that a couple times. Like I say, it took me a while. Wasn't easy.
Yes.
A lot of sleepless nights. And I'll admit, as a guy, right, this is a difficult thing to admit, bro, but I cried.
Yeah.
I cried a lot, bro, right? By myself, just like, you know, I used to just like curl up on the bed. I'll be like, oh, you know, and it's like, it makes me almost feel embarrassed to say that, but it was...
Sometimes that shit was good therapy to get out the system.
It was necessary.
Yes.
Because I had all these things in the past that I just subdued and tried to like put off for so long. And when you're in the present moment, you realize it's not about working through them or making amends as such. It's about these traumas coming to you, and then you just have to simply let them go, which is such a hard thing to do, because it's almost like you're the person you are today because of your past things. That's because people attach themselves to those past things. Yeah. And so, like I say, that was the pivotal moment, was when I started becoming present and in the present moment. And before I knew it, finally, at this like kind of the final moment where I truly realized was when the thought came through my head of what I used to do in the past, where I used to go out and mow people's lawns, you know, rake the leaves, wash the cars for a bit of money. And I used to think, that really felt fulfilling. Like being my own boss, doing my own thing. That's what I need to do. And all of a sudden I just started learning about things. And then now I'm in that growth mindset where, like you say, I'm failing a lot of the times, but I'm not attaching myself to the past failure. I'm being present with it. And then I'm letting it come. I'm going, okay, how can I improve from that? And then I'm letting it go. Yeah. And that's it, bro. That's all it took. But like you say, it's simple concept, very, very difficult to actually work through.
Yeah, and then like I tell people that a lot of times, like some of the things you need to do, because I majority of my followers and the people that reach out to me, because I came from such an alone place as well, in a dark place, that they resonate with that, and they're like, well, how do you get out of there? And I'm telling you, it's not easy, but it's necessary. It's just the little tweaks into your mindset of changing things, of how you're going to outlook. And it's just the fact that like sometimes you just get, your mind will be like that. Like you'll wake up like, another day. No, stop that thought right there. Change it. It's another day, another opportunity, everything that you can go to grow and build and do something. So, because I know a lot of people are alone in that situation and they just in that rut, bro, and they never can get out of it. And it's so hard for them, and they just get trapped thinking that, well, this is just who I am. This is just the person I am. And it's not who you are. So what was some of the steps that you took to try to get out of your mind of kind of being self-loathing that maybe it's everybody else and I'm just alone? And what was some things that helped you change that mindset, whether it was thought process or actions that you took to try to get you out of that alone state?
So like I said, mindfulness was a big one, and like the formal version of meditation for sure. But some other actions were things like going on a walk in nature, right? Things like you say, changing the thoughts. When I woke up and I thought it was going to be a bad day, and like I wanted to like be I just don't want to bother today. And when I felt that way, I thought, right, I'm gonna go outside, I'm gonna go for a walk.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just gonna like and be present in nature. You know, I'm gonna look at the leaves. Or, whatever.
That's a big key. A lot of people don't know how to just be present in the moment.
Yeah, exactly. So I'd go for a walk in nature, and then I kind of get back, and like, although I wouldn't feel perfect, I then was like, okay, well, I've gone for this walk, so I've done one thing, and I've had one little small W for the day, right? Which was I got out of bed and I went for this walk, right? So easy to do, but it gives me that little bit of momentum. And so I'd carry that on. I'd be like, okay, well, what else needs doing? Well, I need to wash up the pots, right, and the dishes.
Yes.
Okay, I might as well do that now. So I'll wash up the pots and the dishes. Actually, okay, now I'm feeling like I got a bit of momentum going, I'm going to do some work now, right? And then you sit down and you do some work, and you're like, oh, like, now I'm really feeling it. I'm like, I'm starting to build that momentum even further, and then I'm finishing some work and I'm feeling like, that's another W. And by the end of the day, you go to sleep and you're like, I'm actually really proud of myself today. I woke up, thought it was going to be a bad day, and now I've like got a W. And that builds the trust with yourself as well. I think that's another big thing, is like one of the actions is building trust with yourself. Yeah. If you say you're going to do something, make sure you do it, because that builds the trust with yourself. And if you build trust with yourself in the future, when you come to do something and you say, I'm going to go do this, you know for a fact you're going to do it because you trust yourself to do it.
Yes. Yeah, that's building it up. And that's kind of leading right into the next topic I want to talk about, because like we're talking mindset, but it's also the mindset is such the pivotal point for you to start getting everything else up. You get that mindset right, then you start getting your self-esteem up, because like so many people have that self-esteem down, and they just think that like, okay, well, if I go up and if I have changed one thought, then I'm just going to be happy all day. And they don't realize that. And Will Smith said it's like, if you're wanting a wall, and in this situation, happiness is your wall, right? If you're wanting that happiness, you're not going to build that wall all at once. Just focus on one brick at a time. Lay that brick as best as you can lay it, and then you go lay the next one and the next one. But you make sure every brick you're trying to lay it as precise and as perfect as you can. Yeah. And before you know it, you have a sturdy wall. So it's just those little wins. People think, okay, well, I woke up today and I had a bad mindset, so I changed that. It's like, okay, it's going to be a good day. And then they go get in the car and then they hit traffic and they're like, see, I tried. Now I'm not this and this and that. It's like, no, you got to attack it. You got to keep stacking those bricks all throughout the day. One thing throughout the day is not going to change it. It's going to take time. But before you know it, changing those little thought processes, I'm in traffic, this and that. Maybe the universe is trying to tell you, just slow down. Take a second. Take a breather. You're moving too fast. Maybe you don't need to be where you're going to in that moment. Like we was talking earlier, sometimes opportunities are missed because you're not supposed to be there. Yeah. So not every opportunity is supposed to be there. So sometimes you're trying to spread yourself out and go to do certain things, and you're doing too much. You're doing what's not actually going to provide what you're looking for.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. When we talk about like small wins, right, as well, like you just said there, right, it's like you could be going out somewhere and something doesn't work out the way you want it to. A small win, though, is actually not reacting to that. Yes. Right? That's another small W. Correct. Is by not reacting to that, right? And that's like, that again, stacks it on top, bro, and builds that momentum. I mean, take it, the gym is a prime example. Yeah. Right? The gym is a prime example. It's just small wins every day at the gym, right? Today, I did like 1 pound more in weight, right? It's like nothing at all. You really think like, it's a pound extra, like who cares? But you do that every day, you're 365 pounds at the end of the year. Yes. Right? So it's like, actually, now you're huge.
Exactly. It accumulates, it stacks up. Nothing happens within just one action. No. It takes multiple actions and decisions to lead to that course that you're on. Yeah. And like earlier when we were sitting down eating, we was talking, and you was like, I'm at a place where even if I am alone, I'm comfortable being alone. And a lot of people can't be comfortable alone. We've had these conversations with Fresh too. He's like, I can go out to eat by myself. A lot of people can't do that. They're so not at peace with themselves that they can't go out and do nothing by themselves. Yeah. So how does that how was that enlightenment or how did that enlightenment come to you that when you're finally like, I'm okay with being alone? Like I want to be around people because we need to be around people, but I'm not in this point where I don't need a friend. I don't need a girl that's in my life. I'm content where I'm at being me, and the people that's going to add value to my life will come and add value to my life. So how was that mindset triggered?
So I'll tell you, this is exactly how it happens, is that once you start building self-trust with yourself, right? Once you start building that self-respect, that self-esteem, suddenly you start to realize there's people in your life that are against your self-esteem and your self-respect.
Yes.
Right? Because when you have love for yourself, you start to see the other people who don't have love for you, because you know what it's like to love you. And so when you see the other people not loving you the way you love yourself, you're like, maybe these guys aren't actually, they don't have my best interests in mind, And as human beings, we're not all perfect, right? People are going to make mistakes and stuff, but there are certain points of trust that really matter, especially when it comes to respect. If somebody disagrees with you, that's fine, but you should be able to respectfully disagree.
Correct.
Right? You shouldn't feel the need to stab each other, to put it down. So the enlightenment really is, when you know you can be alone, is after you trust yourself and everything, because you know that when you're alone, you're not going to do anything stupid. Yeah. Because you trust yourself. Because you know that, hey, I'm alone. Cool. Like, who cares? Right. Right? Like, I don't care, because I respect myself and I love myself.
And those moments too, you tend to genuinely find what makes you happy and the things you like. A lot of times when you're around friends or the other sex that you're trying to hang out with, you're starting to do things that they like, and then when they leave, you're like, I don't like doing those things. And you're unhappier more than you was beforehand. It's just go out, do some things alone. You'll figure out what you like to do.
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely. And I'll tell you what I did a lot, actually. I used to hike a lot. By myself. Just go for hikes. Now, I was never stupid as well, though, because people used to talk about safety about us hiking alone. And I was like, yeah, it's easy. I just text my parents or somebody close to me, and I just say, hey, I'm going for a hike. And if I'm not back by this time, then call somebody. It's like, like you said, we need people around us. And I think that truly we are never absolutely alone.
Right.
And I think that's maybe the other thing as well, the part of the enlightenment, is that when you're alone like that, you realize that actually you're not all that alone, right?
Yes.
Because you have people that you can always call. I know there's people out there who have terrible lives. There's people that screwed them over. Maybe they didn't have the best of families. But yeah, I guarantee you, everybody has one person they can call, right?
And to that point, because push a little, because they do, and some people don't realize that they do have that, because I came from such a place where I was alone. Like, I didn't have family, I didn't have friends. They just turned on me. Like, there's moments, I've told this story quite a bit to people. There's a time where me and a girl split, and I had a washer and a dryer over her house, and I needed to go get. I called everybody I knew. It's like, hey, you don't have to get out the truck, you don't have to move nothing. I'll pay you, I'll pay for the gas, I'll load it up myself, I'll unload it, all that. Nobody will show up, or I couldn't buy a friend in that moment, and they just felt so truly alone. But for people, what I want them to understand from that story is that even though I was alone, there's millions of other people out there that felt that same way. And so social media, even though you're alone in your current state where you're at, social media, there's millions of other people out there that feel that same way that you feel. So you're not truly alone. There is somebody out there that you can reach out to and talk to. You just might not have met them yet.
Exactly. And let's lead on from that, right? About meeting the people that you want to hang around, right? So when it comes to meeting the right people, I always find that to meet the right people, you first have to put out into the universe what you want, which is why you require to build the self-respect first, to spend the time alone, because you need to figure out what you want, right? Because when you're following your purpose and what you want in the from the universe, and you're like, right, for me, for instance, I started working on a business. I'm building and growing a business. So I put that out in the universe, that I'm working on this business and I'm working towards this goal. And the universe looks at that and flips it and goes, okay, but what's the opposite? Like, what's the reaction to that? What do I reward him with for putting this in this work? Well, I introduce him to people that are doing the same thing, that have the same mindset.
Yes.
So he can expand and grow further. Whereas if you put in the universe that you're going to continue to do things that you don't like, you're going to meet people who you don't like. Why? Because you're doing things you don't like, and therefore the universe is going to reward you by giving you people that are into the things that you don't like.
Yes.
So it's like, you need to, this is why you have to follow your heart. You have to follow what truly matters to you, even if that means at first disconnecting from a lot of people in your life.
Yes. Yeah, like we had Mr. Organic in the group come in and talk, and he kind of touched on that point. It's like nobody's going to help somebody that's not helping themselves.
Yeah.
If your car's broke down on the side of the road and you're just sitting in the car, nobody's going to stop to help you. But if you're out on the back of it and you're pushing it, people are going to stop to help you.
Yep.
You got to help yourself first before people see the initiative that you're doing, because so many people in this world will talk about what they want to do and I need help and this and that, but then you can go help them and they still not going to do what they need to do. You got to show people that you're going to put that foot first forward.
Yeah.
So that's actually a really good point.
Yeah. Absolutely, bro. Take for instance, right? I've got a mentor now.
Yeah.
And the only reason I've got that mentor is because he saw I was willing to already put in the work.
Yes.
Right? He saw the fact that I was working on this business and trying to grow it. And he saw I had the humility to accept that I was doing things wrong. And I said, I've got this business, I've done this, I've done that, but I know this isn't quite right and I'm trying to figure this out. And he saw that and he went, hey man, let me talk to you for a real, and let me see if I can help you out a little bit. Yeah. And before I knew it, now the guy's like mentoring me on like how to grow this business and how to really build it and help me with my mindset as well. Yeah. And all simply because I was first willing to do it.
Yes. And your humbleness too. A lot of people can't remove, and I tell them this a lot too, it's like remove your emotion out of things, because you get so emotionally attached to certain things that you can't listen and hear, that when somebody's telling you something that you need to hear to fix, you're so emotional about it that how you feel about it. No, you're wrong. Then you sit back years later and like, damn, they was really trying to help me. Yeah. They really gave some good advice and I was so emotional that I just didn't even want to listen to them.
Yeah. And full circle, that's why you need to be present.
Correct.
Right? That's why you need to be present. So you lose that emotion and you have that humbleness in the moment and say, okay, hold on, let me be present with this guy real quick. What's he just said to me? He said X, Y, Z. Okay, who is he? Right? Yeah. Who's this guy saying this to me? Oh, well, he's a guy with a business that's successful. He's a guy that's doing the things that I want to do. So I need to listen to this guy because clearly he's in the position that I want to be in.
Yes. Like, yeah, we talked about this earlier too, and I keep reading that book, but we talk about you can always learn something from somebody, but it's up to you to determine whether or not what you're learning from them is how to do it or how not to do it. So you just always around, and people try to build relationships on what they can extract from somebody rather than how they can add value to somebody, and they're wondering why they're not getting any relationships or they're not building something, their brand's not growing, because you're coming into that relationship already needy, give me this, rather than how can I help you to grow and we can build a relationship and add value here.
Yeah, absolutely.
So with that, what would be good ways and realistic ways for people to set goals and achievements so they can be better, put themselves in better situations, and kind of get out of their own self-loathing ways sometimes?
Okay. I think the first goals of anybody should, again, full circle, learn how to be present, right? Meditation, I think, is the absolute key. I personally think meditation is the absolute key alongside gratitude.
Yes.
So, but I think they go hand in hand.
Yeah,
absolutely. Because to be present in the moment, you have to appreciate what's around you, right? Like on this podcast, as we speak right now, I'm so grateful that I'm here. There's these amazing buildings behind us, bro. We're in this downtown Miami. There's things going on everywhere. Yeah. We're meeting fantastic people. I'm there. I'm with it. I'm not thinking about, I've got to go home soon. I'm not thinking about, I wish that my life was different back then so I could be better with these people. I don't care.
Yes.
Right? I'm here now. And that's what matters, right? And so the first goals that anybody should set is to become present and mindful and be grateful, right? They're the first goals that anybody should set. Once they start to do that, then they need to figure out what their purpose is. However, what you'll find is that you usually figure out your purpose along the first goal, But if you haven't, then your second goal should be to find your purpose. Now, how do you find your purpose, right? Because that's a really that's a broad thing, Yes. It's crazy. And it's difficult, but it takes time. Well, actually, no, sorry. It's simple. It takes time, but it is not a complex thing, right?
Right.
It's very, very simple, actually. It just takes time. Because what you have to do is you have to start trying things that you believe are like, okay, this seems like something I want to get into. Try it. Don't just do it for a couple of days, like say, for instance, the gym, right? Don't just do it for a couple of days and go, I've got no results by, It's do it for 3 months, 4 months, 5 months, 6 months even. And at the end of the 6 months, you can look and go, where am I at?
Yeah.
Am I improved? Well, I've learned a lot, but I still feel like this just isn't for me. you know. And even if you've got results from something, sometimes you can still sit there and go, I don't feel like this is for me. I tried drop shipping, right? I got some results from drop shipping, and I then turned around and was just like, it's not for me though. I hated it. I was like, what is this? Like, I've got to do this now and I've got to do that. Come on. Like, and I was just like, this isn't for me at all.
Yes.
But I like the marketing side of things. And that's something I learned along the way, along the journey, is I learned, okay, I like marketing though. So that's why I got involved into marketing. And now I'm building this marketing agency, and that's like really fulfilling me. It's really like, I just enjoy it. I enjoy it. And like we said, not 100% of the time, but 80% of the time I enjoy it. And the other 20% of the time, I'm simply just having a bad day and I'm cracking on, you know? So that's it right there, bro. I think first goal, be present, be mindful, be grateful. Second goal, find your purpose by trying new things.
Okay. And like, so, and then with that too, is like people will sometimes set unrealistic goals too highly and stuff, and then discourage themselves. Like, set you long-term goals and then set you short-term goals that's going to get you to your long-term goal, right? You don't just go there like if you're trying to lose, like, well, I'm trying to lose 100 pounds in a month. Okay, well, if that's what you're trying to do, which that's going to be hard. But if that's what you're going to do, then you're going to be like, okay, well, then every day I need to go to the gym for an hour. There's your small goals like that. And I love using the gym metaphor tons of times, especially in this situation, because so many people think that, oh, if I do this one action, then my whole life's going to change. Like, you can't go into the gym and do one set, or you can't go into the gym and work one day and you're going to look good all year. It's not that. You got to put that work in every single day. Set goals. When you reach those goals, set you new ones and make sure that they're obtainable. And if they're long-term goals, make sure you set up shorter-term goals that's leading to that. Yeah,
absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
So, and we've talked a little bit about like building relationships and communications and adding value to people. So, like you said, you have a mentor, and he was able to come and start helping you out, and because he saw that work that you was putting into. So a lot of people will think like, oh, well, he must have been doing some of these extravagant things, right? So what was just like some of the things that you was doing that just made him come to you because you're working, like just small little things that, you know, people can just do?
So straight away it starts with figuring out what kind of people you want to meet. Okay. Right. So for me, I wanted to meet business people. I wanted to meet people with a good mindset, and I wanted to meet kind of almost spiritual people, right? People that had this philosophy, like philosophers, right? To put it simply, okay, like digital philosophers. So I had that in mind. So I thought, okay, well, let me start consuming content from people that sort of do these kinds of things, right? So Fresh and Fit is a prime example.
Yeah.
And so I was watching Fresh's stream one day, and an opportunity arose. And so because I was looking for these kinds of people, I was consuming the content from these kinds of people to try and see if I could find other people who are like me in the chats, the comments, you know, maybe in like a Discord group. And Fresh gave an opportunity. He said, hey, I'm going to start a network group for like-minded individuals who watch like the Fresh and Fit podcast. And I thought, well, if they watch the Fresh and Fit podcast, they must be at least somewhat similar to me.
Correct.
And so in this group, I'm going to probably find people similar to me. So I decided to join the group because it's an opportunity.
Yeah.
And then I was like, okay, I'm just going to seize this opportunity in the moment, do it. If it doesn't work out, doesn't matter. I can just leave.
Right.
When I got into the group, immediately started hitting off with some of the guys. Ian, my mentor, was one of them. And all of a sudden, we started talking about my business. And just because I was there to try and help people, I was there to just put myself out there. I wasn't there trying to take anything, like we were saying.
Right.
The same with Ian. He was trying to give value. He wasn't really trying to take anything from me. And we just started, you know, having a conversation about the business. And then he said, hey, why don't you DM me and let's talk about this, in a call. So I DM'd him. We set up a call. We got into that call. And it was just a really genuine call. He told me some of the things that he saw that I was doing wrong. I told him some of the things that you know, I believe is like the right way of doing it and all like my ideas. And he got some value from that as well, because he saw somebody's new perspective.
Right.
Because I'm new in the business, but that doesn't mean that I don't have good ideas. It's new ideas. And so he took some of them on board. And now, obviously, we just continue to do that because the first call went so well and the second call and third call.
Right.
And it's about putting yourself in those positions. Like I say, I started consuming the content. I started looking for the groups that have these kind of things. Maybe you find it on Facebook, maybe you find it on Discord, maybe it's a Telegram group, right? But if you have the opportunity, seize it and just try it, because you never know what you're going to get from it.
Yeah.
And now, like I say, here we are in Miami, meeting people that from all walks of business, all walks of mindsets. We've got people who are very philosophical about mindset. We've got people who are about real estate, people who are about marketing, people who are about
trading, forex,
crypto. Yeah, and we've just got all these different people with different mindsets coming together, but all of them want to grow.
Yes.
Right? So I say different mindsets, but I think the different mindsets on the top level.
Yes.
The underlying principle is that they want to grow, learn, and become better people.
We all have different mindset, but we all have the same objective in mind.
Yes.
We all want to grow. We all want to be self-better. And then also at the end of the day, we want to add value so other people can grow and be better and change their life for the betterment too. And that's what was, for me, was so good about the CEO Network. Watching Fresh and Fit, trying to find, like, I was very antisocial, moving out of those things now, trying to network and be better. And that's what the CEO Network has helped me do, is that realize, go out. Even if you just go out, talk to 5 people today. That's it. It ain't got to be no objective other than just getting better at talking. You ain't trying to get a number. You're not trying to make a friend. You're not trying to no, just talk. How you doing? What you been doing? Okay, where you from? What's your background? Just to get those situations and going. So the CEO Network has been just phenomenal for those things. And Fresh has brought in so many people with great advice to teach us things. It's been an amazing amount of value that I'm glad that I jumped into, because it's put us in this predicament. Like I said, we're out here in a beautiful place, networking with people all across the world. It just in positions that we would have not been able to be in.
Exactly.
So I have a question on our change. So how can an individual embrace change and navigate uncertainty with grace and resilience?
Embracing change. Yeah, this is a big one, dude.
Yeah.
This is a big one. Yeah, man, to embrace change. So, you know,
Yeah.
you know what it is, right? Is that it starts with that mindset thing again, right? When you want to embrace change, you have to accept the fact that change is not always going to be exactly what you want, right? So first off, don't expect perfection, right? You cannot expect perfection. And the other thing for people who are like, I don't like change, a lot of that comes from self-talk, right? People continually tell themselves, I don't like change, or I don't like it when this happens, don't like it when that happens. You need to just stop that self-talk and start saying to yourself, you know what? I'm willing to see where this takes me.
Yes.
Right? I'm willing to see where this takes me. Where am I going to go with this? And again, it might not always be perfect. It might not be exactly what you want. But to really embrace that change, you have to say, I'm willing to see where this takes me. And if it's, not exactly what I wanted, it doesn't matter, because ultimately you're going to learn from that experience, and using everything we've just talked about mindset, about being stoic about it, about not letting your emotions control it, you can sit and be present with it and go, all right, you know what, this isn't exactly the change that I wanted, but it's here now. I'm going to deal with it. I'm going to make do, and I'm going to continue to just grow. And eventually another change will come around, which will benefit you.
Yes. And see, like I do art as a hobby thing that I love to do, and it's fun. And I've learned so many life lessons from art. And that's what I've tried to tell people, is like, it correlates with life in so many ways. You can have everything planned out in life, but don't have an expectation of how things should turn out, right? I can pick the canvas, I can pick the colors, I can do what I want to do, lay out in the stroke techniques and how I want to do it, and I'm very abstract with my art. But even though you might have all the materials laid out of what you want to do, that finished product never comes out how you want it to be. It's going to shape and do what it wants. You got to listen to the canvas and let it go. And that's what, for me, it's with life. You can plan everything you want, but life don't care about that plan. It's going to lead you to the way you need to be. So you take the steps to put yourself in a position to where you're able to, what's the word I'm looking here? Capitalize on opportunities. Right, so you just take those steps. You don't be like, well, I'm going to do this, and then this is going to be the outcome. No, this, and this, and I'm working towards growth, or I'm working towards something that's a little bit more general, and then let the universe and let life kind of lead you into the path that you need to go to achieve that what you want to do. But you got to have your mindset and mindfulness to know what you're wanting to do. Yeah,
and it's like, I have a plan, right? Like you just said that. I have a plan of what I want to happen.
Yes.
But I don't expect it to go exactly according to plan, because life's not perfect, right? But like you say, it kind of goes in the way that it's meant to. And what you just said there about artists, right? When they paint, how things don't always turn out the way they want to. This is why so many artists were like, they're almost tortured in their minds. A lot of them are crazy people, right? And the reason being is because these great artists were tortured because they were never able to get the perfect painting that they wanted.
Yes.
Because it never works out that way. It's impossible.
Yeah, it never comes out exactly how you want, or you always feel like you need to add something to it, make it. You're never finished with a piece, bro. You just never are.
Absolutely, bro. And perfection, right? I'll say this now. Perfection in life is life itself. right? Perfection is the fact that things aren't perfect.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, because that's the way life was made to be.
Perfectly imperfect is a lot of things I've heard. And there's so many things that's described that way. Sometimes when things are too perfect, it's like, it's okay. But then they have that little imperfections of it. And that's what makes it so unique and what makes it so beautiful.
Exactly.
Yeah. So what strategies can help someone stay motivated and committed to their goals in the long term?
Oh, yeah. So for me, what I found really works is essentially having a plan in the first place, right? So your general goals might be like, I want to be a multi-millionaire, right? So if you want to be a multi-millionaire, how are you going to do that? Right. And so you need to come up with that plan. And although obviously, like we say, things aren't going to go perfectly.
Right.
If you have a plan though, you are going to have much more of a drive because you're like, I know what needs to be done. And the other thing is that every single day have a thing that you need to focus on, right? Okay. It doesn't have to be 5 things. I actually recommend 1 or 2 things a day. Okay. Have 1 task or 2 tasks that need to be completed today, right? And set the deadline at the end of the day. It's like, I need to do this within the next 24 hours, or, you might wake up late, so 16 hours, let's say. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you need to set yourself that deadline and say, right, in the next 16 hours, I'm going to get these 2 things done. Whether that be, let's say for marketing, it's about, you got to build a lead list and you've got to send some emails, right? 2 tasks, so simple, but they need doing.
Yes.
And once you, again, coming back to the small wins thing, once you have that plan, you can go, right, I'm going to try and make this work. Maybe you get an hour's work done, like an hour or 2 hours work done, and then all of a sudden something happens and you've got to take a break. And it's like, life's not perfect, is what it is. But you go away, you do the thing that needs to be done, and that you take that break, and then you come back to it and you go, okay, well, I've still got time. Let me finish this off now. And then you do another 4 hours of work, and then you get it all done, and you sit there and you go, okay, boom. Like my day didn't go perfectly how I planned it, but because I had those like that plan in mind, that's why I ended up in the position I was able to complete it. And like I say, now you've got a win for the day, you feel good, like it's just it works, right. But you have to have 1 or 2 things. If you have too many things, you're just going to get lost. You're going to go, I've got to do this, I've got to do that, I've got to do this, and then now the day's gone and I've done nothing today,
right, exactly. And that brings me to the next, because like finding that balance, like so many people, and that's been a challenge for me, is finding balance between work and personal life, and then self as well. Like, I got kids to take care of, following all these things that I need to do to stay focused on, but then you also have to find still time for yourself and the things that you actually care about. So what practices or techniques do you recommend for managing stress and preventing burnout?
Yeah. So, you know what it is? Everybody needs a creative outlet, right? You need something that recuperates your energy, because admittedly, even when you enjoy your work, like I enjoy doing the marketing work, but it does sap my energy.
Yes.
And I sometimes, some days I do, maybe 8-10 hours, and I'm at the end of the day, I'm like, man, I don't want to do anything tomorrow. Like I'm feeling. So what I do is I think, right, okay, I need to do something that's going to bring back that energy.
Yeah.
So maybe your creative outlet for me is like doing YouTube, right? Doing these podcasts and videos, to me, it brings back my energy, because I like talking about things. I like inspiring people to be better, and I want somebody, like just even one person, to see this content and go, this is changing my life.
Yes.
Right. And so that brings me a lot of energy back. So you need to have like a creative outlet, something that you do passionately, something that you do not just because it's going to earn you some money or because it's a business model or whatever, something that you do simply because you love it so much. Yeah. Right. And another one for me is like hiking, right? Maybe that's not a creative outlet as such, but it's something I'm passionate about, something that I love to do. And by doing it, I recuperate my energy. And then I'm like, okay, I'm ready for the next day now. So you always need to have something that you do as a creative outlet. And everyone on social media always talks about, nobody works as hard as me, and I do 16-hour days and blah, 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 blah. It's like, bro, the reason they say that is because work is, like, as an entrepreneur, work is also considered as those things that you have to do to gain back your energy, right?
Right.
Mr. Beast plays board games, right? He doesn't just record videos 24/7. The guy is working all the time.
Yes.
But he knows that and like I say, he calls it work because he has to do it to recuperate his energy. He has to play board games and chill out with some board games. And that is how he finds his energy again to go make more videos.
Yeah, okay. Because that's something I've always had trouble with is trying to rejuvenate my energy. And that's where art comes for it. But then there's sometimes where it's just like, I need something that's a little different than that, than art, to try to get out. So I'll try to go out, walk, do things like that. So it's always been trying to find things that help regenerate that energy back for me. And especially like for a lot of people, there's a lot of things you can go do, but then a lot of things it's how do I go do things that don't cost money? And that's like the hiking, going out, go park, go start seeing something in nature. And then that just benefits and helps you a million times, just getting out the house.
Yeah, you know what? I'll say it like this, right? Think of it like a game, a stamina bar.
Yeah.
Right? If you keep attacking, your stamina's gone, you can't attack anymore. So what do you have to do? Well, you have to now evade. You have to roll out the way. You have to do something different, right?
Yeah.
Something that is almost, it's sort of like, if you think about it, really, evading an attack compared to swinging a sword, let's say, two very different things, right? One of them's defensive. You've got to, move your body. You've got to like exercise your body. The other is that you have to try and like kill something. You're swinging for it. Like you're literally trying to attack something.
Yeah.
Right. So two completely separate things. And that's what I mean by creative outlet. Yeah, it has to be so different from what you're doing that's sapping your energy.
Yes.
And it has to be something, like I say, that it comes from the heart.
Yeah.
I mean, one guy I know, I remember he talks about, he loves doing the lock puzzles. He gets like these passcode lock things, like these lock puzzles where you have to like take one piece out and then push this here, and like they take hours to do. I've forgotten the name of it. I think it's like master locks or something.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's what he does to like recuperate. It's like, it's so weird, but it's like that works for him.
Yeah. And that's like within the CEO network, talking sometimes, and Fresh was in there one time talking to us, and he's like, just go out and try things. If you don't know what you like or what's a hobby, just go and try things. If you don't like it, you don't like it, or you might go out something like, man, that might be stupid, but then you go out and you having a good time with it. Clay modeling, bro. I went and did that stuff, right? I was like, nah, man, that ain't gonna be, man, it was a ton of fun. I enjoyed myself doing all that, getting hands dirty. So sometimes you just got to be open-minded. And know that let me go try some things. I might not like it. I might like it. I might not like it. But at the end of the day, you're going to get experience from it. You're going to network. You're going to gain something from it, even if you don't like that overall activity. Yeah, and I think you're not going to want to do the same thing all the time as well. Like, I don't always want to hike. No.
Right? Even the thing that recuperates my energy, you're not always going to want to do it, right? Yeah. I mean, think about like, if you owned a Lamborghini and a Ferrari, right? You think to yourself, I'd want to drive it every day. You actually don't.
No.
You at first you're like, yeah, I want to drive it all the time. And then eventually you're like, just not today.
Yeah.
Like, it's a cool car. I love it and everything, but it's just not today. Because that's just human nature. We can't just repeatedly do the same things. We need like new experiences.
Yes.
I remember Tim Ferriss talks about this in 4 Hour Workweek. He says the fact that he became a world-renowned salsa dancer just as like a random thing to do, right? Like, like, oh, you know what? I feel like I'm just going to learn salsa dancing. Before I know it, I'm world-renowned.
Yeah.
It's like, that's crazy.
that is. And that's what so many times I tell people. It's like, just go try stuff. Just go try it. You never know. Because a lot of times we have our mindset thinking that, oh, this is what it's like. And then you don't know what something's like until you actually experience it. So because I know you read a lot. You're very mindful in that situation, which is something I've been getting better at thanks to CEO Network. Y'all have got me reading more books in the past 3 months than I've read my entire life, which has changed my life so much for the better. So what are some good books? I would like to say top 5, but what are some good books that you would recommend people to go read to try to help changing their mindset and taking those first steps forward to changing and growth?
Okay. Before we even get into the books, I'm going to say something, right?
Yeah.
First, make reading sexy.
Okay.
Right? Reading needs to be sexy again, dude.
Yeah.
People look at it and they think, oh, it's so nerdy and boring. Nah, Dan, it's so good. Make it sexy. Make reading in your mind this thing that's like really classy and professional. At least that's what works for me. Maybe for you have to think of something different.
Yeah.
But for me, it's like, I think myself, okay, like let's say sitting on this balcony, right? I'd sit there, and I'd be like, I'm going to read this book because I'm a classy guy, Not actually like that, but in my mind,
correct,
right?
Yes.
Yeah, in my mind, I'm sort of thinking to myself, I look so classy right now. I look like I'm such an intelligent guy reading this book. Feel good about it. Feel sexy about it, kind of thing, right? So first do that, but then once you feel that way about reading, right? Some of the books you got to start with is Atomic Habits, right? Number 1, because that is obviously the book that's going to teach you about how to build habits, how to get rid of bad ones, and ultimately, you're going to need to know how to build a habit because that's how you're going to build your habit of reading. Right. So that's an ultimate book, I think, to start with. And then from there, again, obviously I talk about mindfulness and presence all the time, so I would recommend the Mindfulness for Life book, like a second to that. And also when you're reading, don't feel the need. Sometimes I say read 2 books at once. You know, maybe one week you're going to read that book, next week change it up, read the other book, right?
So bounce back and forth.
Yeah, bounce back and forth. But don't do it like day to day, because otherwise you're going to lose focus. You know, so you've got to like, maybe week to week you can change the book. But yeah, so those 2 books I'd start with, Atomic Habits, then Mindfulness for Life. And then there's a lot of good books out there, but I'm going to recommend Deep Work as number 3.
Yes.
Because if you want to start a business, or even as a remote worker, or in a job, if you want to get a promotion, you don't have to be an entrepreneur, but you're going to need deep work in your life, because you really need to figure out, especially when we've got phones pinging off all the time, emails coming in all the time, you got fast cars flying around everywhere, you know, like construction work going on here, like the world's very distracting.
Yes.
So you need to figure out, okay, how can I sit down and really focus on what's important and doing that work? So Deep Work is the third one I'd recommend. And then from there, there's a lot of books that I'd want to recommend, but I'm going to say 4-Hour Work Week, because that's kind of similar to Deep Work, but also it talks a lot about how to boss up and you know, if you want to be an entrepreneur especially, I'd recommend that book. And the 5th book, one more for the guys, but I'd say The Way of the Superior Man. And that's about basically how to hold yourself as a man, how to kind of a little bit stoic. You know, I mean, I would recommend meditations as well, but again, that depends if, you know, you're a philosopher. Like, I feel like Superior Man gives you more of like a step-by-step process, whereas Meditations by Marcus Aurelius is more like a, you know, you have to find the steps within that book, right? So, but
okay, I got you.
Yeah. So I recommend The Way of the Superior Man to become like a stoic guy. You know, but again, I mean, I think that one's more for the guys though, because like I say, I think it's kind of aimed at that audience.
Which is good too, because there's a lot of men out there, guys out there that don't know how to be men, how to be accountable, how to lead, how to do all these things that is actually required and necessary to be a man and a good product of society and giving back. So that's really good, because a lot of men fall short of that. So that's amazing. So there's 5 books for y'all to go check out. Y'all definitely need to go read them. I know I'm going to go read them for sure. I've already been reading a couple of them, so I've already been on that. Because Luke Belmar put out a list of books. I think it was like 10 of them, and I'm still trying to work through all those. And for me, because I know a lot of people's out there, it's like, well, I don't like to read, or I got dyslexia or bad reading. I have horrible reading comprehension. Sometimes I would have to read books 3 or 4 times before I'd get the process of it. But Audible books, sitting there just changing your scenery of what you're doing, how you're doing it, the mentality when you're doing it. There's ways that you can do it, because I had to do it. So like I said, before I came to CEO Network, bro, I probably read 2 books my entire life, because I just didn't like to do it. But now that I found out, like I said, the mindset that when I read it, I get excited about reading certain things. Like, oh, I didn't know that. I can go apply this and change it. Okay. So I've learned how to put excitement into it for me to. So I want to read and gain, and then I can put down one book now where it used to be like, oh, God, I'm through it finally. It's done. Now I'm like, all right, what's next? What I go look at now? And I start looking. I start studying and people studying authors, and realize like, okay, I want to learn something from him. I want to learn something, because a lot of people's like, well, if I can get in a room with them, I can learn so much. Some people, you don't even got to get in a room. You just got to get their book, and they're going to tell you all that stuff.
100%. You can actually, a book is just like you say, it's such a comprehensive like way to see into somebody's mind.
Yes.
It really, really is. And talking about reading comprehension as well, I say the biggest thing to really remember something from reading it is to apply it to your life. Like you just said, like if you apply the concept to your life, then you're going to remember it, because you're doing it every day. You know, and it's funny, because some of the books I've read, like I've maybe only found like 1 or 2 things that I can actually apply to my life. But those 1 or 2 things are so valuable. They're so valuable, even if they're small, because that's how you level up, right? Because you just got to be continuously being a student to these books and stuff. And I'd always recommend as well, like those 5 books I recommend, I would say read through all of them to the end, right? But what I would recommend is that if you do get into other books, right, and you start reading more and more, never be afraid to put down a book if you're just not finding anything in it. You know, I've picked up a book before, like the psychology book it was called, right? And I was just like, I'm interested. Like, what's this all about? Psychology? I'm into philosophy and understanding people. So I was like, okay, maybe I want to know about like psychology. What is it about? And I was reading, and I was like, dude, I don't know any, like, I don't get, like, it's making no sense to me. I just, this isn't for me.
Right.
So I put that book down, but I got surrounded by idiots, which is another like psychology book about like personality types. And that one made perfect sense to me.
Yes, that's the thing too. I've had to learn is like a lot of times I'm like, well, I read this book, I didn't like it. I don't like reading books. No, maybe that book just didn't speak to you. Like Fresh says, he brings all these people into the CEO network to talk to us, and it's not because of there's different aspects, but because everybody speaks a little different, and one guest might come in there and say something, and it resonates with me and misses you. Then another guest comes in, says something that resonates with you but misses me. So it's so many ways. Language is fascinating because there's so many ways to say the same thing that will only resonate to certain type of people. So just because that book doesn't work and resonate with you doesn't mean another one wouldn't. Yeah,
absolutely. And again, well, that's exactly it. Like, I blame school for this, right? Yeah. School has the worst books ever, bro. Oh my word, like English, like Of Mice and Men, bro. I'm sorry, but that book is just so boring. Like, and not only that, the fictional books as well, they're always fictional. Yeah. Right? And the textbooks they give you as well, terrible to read. So like the language is just so plain and boring. And I think that turns people off reading. Yeah. I think that's honestly, maybe call me a conspiracy theorist, but I truly believe that's a ploy to stop people from picking up books themselves in the future, because books, bro, are like a life hack to becoming successful and a better human being.
There's decades of knowledge in those things that you can learn from that. Yeah, and I'm with you on it, because school definitely was that for me. Like every book I ever read in school, I was like, once I get out of school, I'm never reading a book again. Right, write a book report on this? No, I ain't touching another one.
Exactly, dude. It's crazy. And it's like, it makes you almost hate reading. Yeah. And it's like, but reading's a fantastic thing. And it took me, I remember when I finally realized that reading was a good thing. I was like, oh, what have I done with my life? Like, why did I, why did I know this?
Yeah, because that was me a couple of months ago. Now I make sure to make it set like an hour a day. I read an hour a day, whether it's actually physical reading or audible books. Yep. Some type of knowledge, soaking up some type of knowledge in that way of format like that.
Yeah, and Audible's great actually for when you like an hour a day. Like sometimes you're really busy. Like say life's not perfect, but Audible's great because sometimes you can be like, look, I'm not going to be able to read a book and like fully comprehend it that way, which I personally recommend reading physically. But Audible is a great way if you don't have the time and you're just like, look, I've got work to do here, I've got this, that, the other, I've got to pick up the kids, whatever it may be. Yeah. It's like, but I'm going to be in the car traveling for at least like an hour today. So I'll tell you what, I'll start playing the audiobook in the car. Yes. And just at least it's going somewhere and I might pick up one or two things with it.
Yeah. For me, it's because like trying to comprehend when I read, it's easier for me to hear things and comprehend it. So if I'm like going out on a walk, all right, book time. If I'm out doing art and stuff and I'm working on that, okay, book time. I'm listening while I'm doing those things so I can multitask and I'm hitting two birds with one stone. Yeah. But neither one of those things that I'm doing is taking focus away from another. I can do them simultaneously and focus on them together.
I was going to say, I think that's the one thing I'd recommend is like a lot of people like listen to audiobooks when they're actually working on something. And I'm like, that doesn't work because your focus is now being pulled 50-50 and like when you've got 50-50 focus, guess what? You're only going to understand 50%. But not even that, because reality is actually we only comprehend about 20% of what we read anyway. Yes. So if you're 50-50 on your focus already, now you're comprehending like 5% of what you're actually hearing. Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely. Because I've heard so many people like, well, I listen to audiobooks. I'm like, okay, when you listen, when I'm cleaning the house and I'm doing laundry, I'm like, that's not the time to be doing that because you're so focused. You're thinking, okay, what's the next step? Get this done, then that. It's like you're not even really listening to it and it's not back there to you. So you can multitask with it, but make sure that it's multitasking in a way that is not pulling focus from one of the other. Everybody can multitask, but how you multitask.
Yeah, 100%, bro.
How can an individual turn obstacles into opportunities for growth and personal development?
Yeah, so when you run into problems, you have to see problems as opportunities to learn, right? So immediately flip it, and it's like, it's not a problem, it's an opportunity to learn. Right? And then yes, it's going to be a painful thing because you're going to have to go through this problem, and it might be like a financial problem. Maybe it's like you got to pay off debts. Maybe you got to, whatever that problem is. Think of it and go, okay, well, this is an opportunity to learn though. What can I learn from like paying off debts, right? What can I learn from that? Well, I can learn how to budget because I've got to make sure that I've got X money at the end of every month. Yeah. So now it's time for me to learn how to budget. So it's an opportunity for me to learn how to budget. And so when that obstacle arises, I can be like, okay, I need to turn this into an opportunity of how can I flip this so I can learn something from it, right? And there's always something you can learn from problems, bro, always. And when you do that, that's when problems start occurring, and they no longer like, you'll no longer get emotional about them, because you're like, you know what, I've done this before, I've had a problem before, and I've made it work. You know what I mean? I've flipped it on its head, and I've said, you know what, this obstacle here, I know how I'm going to power through this. I'm going to look at it as an opportunity to learn something and develop my business further, right? Yeah. And then all of a sudden, if you do that for a year, at the end of the year, your business has got like systems which no other business has, and you're like, it's all happened though because I thought about how can I flip a problem on its head and turn it into an opportunity.
Yes, and that's things like I try to teach people and tell people in my following, is that like so many people will have that negative mindset of like, well, this just keeps happening. I've been going through the same problems. It's like, problems aren't truly problems. They're lessons to try to teach you something and for growth. Because once you, so some people's like, well, I've been going through the same thing every time, because you ain't learned a lesson in that yet. The world ain't picking on you. It ain't trying to treat you bad or nothing like that. It's trying to teach you a lesson that you need to be. You say you want to be somewhere. All right, life knows that's where you're wanting to be, and it's throwing obstacles at you so you can learn and be the person you need to be so you can achieve what you're trying to achieve.
A prime example is guys when it comes to girls, bro. Prime example. Guys repeatedly get with girls and then start simping for them and start like doing things that they shouldn't, and then before they know it, like you say, the girls left them, they're left like, oh, I don't know what I've done wrong, and then all of a sudden like they do the same thing. Why? Because they haven't learned the lesson that they need to learn how to be alone. They haven't learned the lesson that they need to learn how to love themselves, right? And so if you continually have something happening to you, it's not because all girls are the same, right? Or it's not because the world hates me. It's because you are trying to be taught a lesson. The universe is trying to help you, bro. The universe is trying to help you. It's trying to say, yo, stop, doing the same mistakes. Stop getting with these same girls and doing these things and like losing respect for yourself in the relationship, right? And instead, treat yourself with love and respect, right? So that's like a big one that you see all over the place, bro. And this is why, like, now, like for myself, right, as an example, in my life, dude, I don't ever let anybody disrespect me anymore, right? Never, doesn't matter if it's a girl or a guy, right? All because I understand. In the end, obviously, it took me a while. It's not, like I say, it's simple, but it takes time. But in the end, I finally saw the lesson. And I went, I need to stop hanging around with people like this and people like that. The universe is trying to help me love myself and find the people that I need to be around. People like Leonard,
because that's what I tell people all the time. It's like, we can learn these lessons in other aspects of life, but for some reason, when it comes to just certain areas, we can't. So it's like, I tell people, it's like, you'll go through the same thing in life and be like, why is this happening? Why is life picking on me? But you wouldn't walk up to the stove with a hot burner and touch it, be like, ow, ow, why is it burning? Right? Every day, and human nature to me is crazy too, because of the fact that, like, in life, every day you show yourself how strong you are, how capable you are. We started off as babies that couldn't talk, couldn't walk, couldn't do all those things, and every day you grew to progress, and every day you couldn't do something. So every day of your life you've shown yourself that you can do something, yet people are still so hard on themselves, like, I can't do this or this and that. It's like, bro, you just apply it, you're going to be fine, you're going to be able to attain them.
Absolutely. And that hot stove example is a really good example, because it's not just about people themselves, they don't repeatedly touch a hot stove, but also because a lot of people are surrounded by others that won't even let them touch the hot stove to see. Right? Like, you've got to get burnt to find out if it's a bad thing. Otherwise, you're going to continue to do it because you hang around people that stop you from seeing that. Right? So in, the example of the girls, right? If you hang around with a bunch of friends who never like let you know that you're making a mistake, right? They never tell you, respectfully, of course, because like I say, we can disagree on things, but we can be respectful. Right? If they can come at you and respectfully say, hey, bro, you're making a mistake with this person because X, Y, and Z reason. And then that person can look and go, listen, bro, I don't, maybe you're right, I don't know. Right? And then but the seed is planted, and then they can think about it. So my point is basically, the hot stove situation, a lot of people are surrounded by people who won't even let them see if the stove is hot. Right? Because they'll just try to blind them with other things, So it's so important that, like, you touch that hot stove and you get burnt, and then you go, I'm never doing that again.
Yeah, and like for that process too, is like it's like trying to learn in that life lesson. Not only once I touch that burner and it's hot, that I know that there's going to be tests to anything. So now if I walk up to fire or anything, I might be hot, and I was like, oh, okay, there's caution, there's heat there. All right, no, I ain't going to do it. It don't have to necessarily be the same mold of that thing that can hurt me, but just the same mannerisms of it.
Yeah,
I can
it's similar.
spot it.
Yeah, you can start to get an idea. Yeah,
Yes.
I mean, I think this is why I've got quite I'm not very judgmental with people, right? I always talk to like anybody, but I mean, I know a guy, right, he looks homeless, right? Like, I love the guy to pieces, but he admits this himself. Like, he's missing 2 front teeth, his hair's a mess. Like, the guy who you would look at him and you think, oh, he looks a little bit crazy.
Yeah.
But I obviously didn't like prejudge him. I just like let him speak and see who he was. And it turns out the guy was a lovely guy. And I was like, perfect. All right, I'm just gonna like, this guy's now a friend of mine, and he's a very close friend of mine. And it's all simply because I let him speak first. But because I immediately saw the similarities in what I've seen in good people, right? So, like you say, and I knew that he wasn't making the mistakes that bad people make, right? Because, like you say, similar. I might have not been in an exact situation, but because I knew this bad situation happened before to me, I looked at this situation. I said, is there similarities between this situation and this situation here? And I was like, no, there isn't. So I knew this guy was a good guy.
Yes.
You know?
Exactly. It's learning and adapting in situations. So that's why like failure is so required and necessary, because it teaches you so much of mannerisms and tricks of people.
Yeah.
And for me, it's always learning and understanding who a person is, and then accepting that that's who they're going to be. Don't ever expect them to be something more than they are. If they're, because DMX said that in a quote on, I think, Drink Champions, and I can't quote it rightly, so I'm gonna paraphrase it. But he was like, if you see a snake, expect the snake to be a snake, right? Yeah. So if you just start talking to people with an open mind and with knowing how to learn these traits of picking up on people's mannerisms, you'll know that, okay, this person is this person's that person, they're type this, and it don't have to always be negative. Just, okay, this person's really good at social, all right, this person's really good at putting a plan together, this person's really good at leadership. Know that who they are and trust to believe that they're going to be who they are. They're not going to change. They're going to be that person. And do that with yourself as well. Yes. Right. Like, if you love something, I think one of the big points is what we were talking about at the start of this podcast is basically what we're saying is, like, if you love something, if you care about something, if you have morals of a certain way, never compromise those morals for anybody, because that is who you are. Right. And what's crazy is when you do that, you meet other people who don't compromise their morals. And so, like you say, you'll meet someone who's a great leader, and you'll meet someone who's a great marketer or whatever. And what you find is that although these two people are very, very different, have got very different skills, have got different weaknesses, what you find is these two people will get along really, really well. Why? Because both of them don't compromise who they are to try and impress the other person or to try and hurt the other person. Right? So basically, it's like that person who's a marketer accepts that he's not a good leader, and he won't try like be jealous about it, and he won't try make the other person into a marketer. Right? Just as the leader knows that he's not the best at marketing, but he knows that the marketer is, great at marketing. He's not going to try to turn him into a leader. He's not going to be jealous of the fact that he's not as good as marketing as this guy. Right? So it's like, it's not compromising yourself as a human being, sticking to your morals, and you will meet other people like that as well. So many people compromise when they need to learn synergy. Synergy is the big thing there. People think just because we're working together, we got to compromise. No, you can come together, know what you're good at, know what I'm good at, and put those two things together and make something beautiful. Absolutely. So I think that's a good point, man. We talked a lot of things, covered a lot of things. So I hope y'all got a lot of value from this. Y'all go read books. There's a lot of stuff and a lot of gems here for y'all. So make sure you interpret them, digest them, and understand fully. There's a lot of knowledge that's going to help you, man. So, Niles, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much, bro. I appreciate it. Thank you, man. Absolutely, man.